Horses were used primarily in the military, but the need arose for a more light, faster horse. And in 1952, the Spanish horse was brought to Europe to crossbreed with the native horse called the Lipizzan horse. The combination of breeds brought a horse that was more suitable for the military. Lipizzans are genetically a type of gray color. Born dark, black-brown, brown, or mouse gray, Lipizzans gradually lighten until the white coat for which they are noted is produced somewhere between the ages of 6 and 10. The white hair coat has become dominant in the breed, and only now and then is a black or brown adult produced. As late as 200 years ago, black, browns, chestnuts, duns, piebalds, and skewbalds were found in the adult herd. Noted for his sturdy body and proud carriage, that means how he carries himself, the Lipizzan head is remarkable for its large appealing eyes and small alert ears. The body presents a picture of strength with a crested or rounded neck, powerful shoulders, muscular hindquarters, and strong legs with well-defined tendons and joints. The Lipizzan averages between 14.2 to 15.2 hands at the withers. A hand is 4 inches, so that makes the Lipizzan between 56.8 to 60.8 inches at the withers. Remember, the withers is the point where the mane meets the back of the horse. The Lipizzan stock were bred to the native horses and were also crossed with the horses of Spanish descent. These horses came from Spain, Germany, and Denmark, and produced sturdy, athletic, sure-footed horses. By the 1800s, there were no longer any original Spanish horses available, and Arabians were used to strengthen the bloodlines with endurance and athletic qualities. Developed exclusively by the Habsburg monarchy for its use during times of war and peace, the Lipizzan is the true horse of royalty. The Habsburg monarchy referred to the Central European monarchy that ruled over a collection of lands from the 13th century to 1918. The Habsburg family controlled both Spain and Austria at the time when the art of classical riding revived in Europe during the Renaissance. 400 years of selective breeding have made the Lipizzan one of Europe's oldest breeds of horse. Physically capable of withstanding the demands of the airs above the ground, this mount was bred to perform advanced classical dressage at the famous Spanish riding school in Vienna, Austria. Named after the early Spanish horses imported in the 16th century, the riding school of Vienna is the oldest surviving institution of its kind. Its primary purpose has remained the same throughout its history. Its goal is to promote the art of classical horsemanship in its purest form and transmit it from generation to generation. In other words, to pass it on. To this end, the school used the Lipizzan exclusively as a horse capable of performing all of the steps and movements of dressage, including the airs above the ground, the levade, the courbette, and the capriole. The school owes its survival to the intervention of American General George S. Patton during World War II. On May 7, 1945, Colonel Pedhasky prepared for what he regarded as the most important day of his life. Pedhasky, a tall, aristocratic Austrian, was looking for a way to guarantee the safety of the Vienna riding school. The horses he supervised there were also in jeopardy as the Third Reich collapsed around him. And on that sunny morning, American General George Patton strode into his exhibition arena. Pedhasky thought he'd found the solution to his problem. Lieutenant General Walton Walker's troops had captured the renowned Spanish riding school of Vienna several days earlier at its temporary quarters in a small town in Upper Austria. And Walker, a protege of Patton's, requested a special performance of its white Lipizzan stallions. As Patton watched, the horses and riders went through a series of precise, ballet-like maneuvers, a demonstration of controlled power and elegance set to music. It was beautiful to watch and incredibly difficult to execute on horseback. Standing to address the man on horseback before him, Patton replied that he was putting the Spanish riding school under the special protection of the U.S. Army. Patton also vowed to see what he could do about the horses that were captured and were in Czechoslovakia. This official declaration was far more than I had dreamed, Pedhasky exclaimed. What he didn't know, however, was that something far more dangerous and extravagant was already well underway. A top-secret mission involving not only Pedhasky's horses, but hundreds more, as well as hundreds of Allied POWs. This would twine together Patton, Reed, and Pedhasky and leave Patton forever associated with the dancing white horses. It began 11 days earlier with some captured secret documents. The contents of any intelligence officer's papers are an obvious source of intrigue, especially when that officer is a general. But those that belonged to the commander of the German intelligence unit that surrendered to the 2nd Cavalry Group at a hunting lodge near the Czech border on April 26, 1945, was unexpectedly interesting. They included photos of horses beautiful horses, Arabians, thoroughbreds, and Lipizzaners. General Patton and Colonel Reed looked at the photos together. The horses were among hundreds the Germans had collected from among the finest breeding stock in Europe, and they had been sent to a large stud farm in the town of Hastow, where they were under the care of the Czech and Polish POWs who had surrendered to the Germans. The problem was that the ruthless and ravenous Red Army was approaching. Both men were concerned the animals might become army rations. Colonel Reed had just concluded a telephone conversation with General Patton. An attempt to arrange the release of the horses and prisoners from the stud farm was negotiated. Captain Stewart and a German veterinarian rode through the forest toward the farm. They were ready to implement the release of the horses. As an experienced rider, Stewart, delighted in his horse, a Lipizzan stallion, said to have been the favorite mount of Peter II, King of Yugoslavia. As the men made their way in the darkness towards the farm, they didn't know the manager of the farm had initially given his blessing to the plan, but had had a change of heart. They decided to make a better deal with the Russians. When the two men stood with the Germans, they had to convince the Germans that the 2nd Cavalry was en route with a sizable number of tanks and vehicles. And the Germans agreed to turn over the farm, not knowing the truth. As soon as the facility was secured, the American troops hurried off to look at the source of all the commotion, the captured horses. It was truly a treasure trove of horseflesh. Among them were 100 of the best Arabians in Europe. Thoroughbred racehorses and trotters, hundreds of Russian Cossack horses, and some 250 Lipizzaners from breeding farms across Europe. There were also the prisoners. Not only the several hundred grooms they had expected to find at the farm, but about 300 Americans and as many British troops who had encountered with the German guards in the vicinity. General George S. Patton spent a lifetime with horses. While stationed at Fort Myer, Virginia, after his graduation from West Point, he played polo. Fox hunted, competed in mounted steeplechases. He was a participant in the first modern pentathlon at the 1912 Olympics in Stockholm, Sweden. He placed 6th out of 23 in the equestrian phase. As a major in the cavalry in 1921, he wrote that a cavalry leader must have a passion, not simply a liking for horses. And when he sought to assess his condition after the automobile accident that ultimately took his life in December 1945, Patton chose one question to ask his doctor: "What chance have I to ride a horse again?" The Vienna School owes its survival to the intervention of American General George S. Patton during World War II. Without his intervention, the best breeding stock would have been lost. You can find the full article about General George Patton saving the Lipizzan horses in the November 2009 issue of World War II magazine. The discipline of dressage has progressed over the years from being solely used in the military to a fine art of beauty between rider and horse. Not only has the purpose of dressage changed, but the breed of horse used has also changed. No longer is the thinner, shorter, faster horse desired as in the 1500s, but now a thicker-bodied, taller, and slower horse is used in the art of dressage. The Spanish horses, Lipizzaners, and Arabians that were used in the early years have been replaced by Dutch Warmbloods, Hanoverians, Friesians, Trakehner's, and other warm blood breeds. All breeds of horses can be taught dressage, but some breeds seem to excel in this discipline.